So, back out in the shop again, like usual. And I had aspirations to get started on my electrical work on this thing. Even went to Menards and got some stuff to do that. But when I got home, there was a box sitting on my back porch. And here, it was my torque converter assembly for this motor that I've been waiting on for quite a while. So, needless to say, I was pretty excited. Dropped everything, came out here in my pajama pants, and started working on it right away, right? I have a lot of issues going on that probably will prevent me from using this belt-driven torque converter assembly on my unit. First thing I noticed is that the unit will not bolt up to the engine in the proper orientation needed to make the chain work. Well, I might as well just show you. In order for this to even remotely possibly work, I have to take my gas tank off the engine. Here's the back plate on the unit. See that cone? That's where the gas tank mounts on my motor. Let me put you on a jack stand here, or on a camera stand. Can we see this? Yeah. So that's where the gas tank normally mounted to the engine. So this torque converter can only go in this orientation because my brake chain case assembly on this sled is right here. I know some of you are saying, just move your engine back. No, I've got the rack here. Not only that, but down here is where the engine mounts go for the original snowmobile engine. And those bolts are welded to the underside of the tunnel, which means in order to, there's plates here, spring plate steel that the engine sat on with rubber cushions under here for vibration dampening. In order for me to move this engine back far enough to drop this way, which is how it's supposed to be orientated, I would have to move this engine back almost, if not right on top of that rack, which means that these engine mounting plates could no longer be used. And back here, on the back half of the tunnel, is where the tunnel gets questionable as far as structural integrity because of the rust that was forming underneath the seat. So, that being said, there's no other way to orientate this clutch assembly. So let's put it together here. Oh, I actually put it away. So that's that, all right? Now the chain goes from here down to here. The engine, in order for this to work, would have to be shifted over a couple inches that way for the sprocket on here to meet up with the sprocket on the jack shaft for the chain box, for the track drive. I want the heavy weight centered. This engine weighs about 65 pounds. I want it centered in the width of the tunnel. That's number 2 problem. Number 3 problem. See all these fins? Those fins are there to give structural integrity to this backing plate. In order for this belt or this torque converter to be in this configuration, the only configuration it can go in, I would have to mill off a bunch of these fins so that the chain can run at this angle down to this. Mill these off. Now this plate is only a 1/4 inch thick, and that's probably not strong enough for the amount of torque this engine's putting out. To make this gas tank work, I would have to custom make new mounts to offset the gas tank over to this location. Lots of work. What was the other thing? Oh, on the main crankshaft here, there's a spacer that they send with you to allow your primary to line up perfect with your secondary. That spacer's way too big. I just so happen to have a shim type spacer, a washer, that spaced the two components together perfectly, but that washer is loose on the shaft. It's like 1.1/16 inner diameter. So it would rattle on the shaft and could possibly cause a vibration, which would prematurely wear out the seals in the engine. So that's a bad thing. What are the other issues? The tooth, the gear that came up here is a 10 or 12 tooth 40 chain sprocket. The sprocket that I bought from my professional bearing gear sprocket supplier here in town, I wanted a 40 tooth sprocket or a 40 chain sprocket. For some reason it does not match up with the sprocket that's on here for the chain I have, and I think that's because the box for the chain I have says 41 chain. The chain I have, and I'm not going to buy new chain, fits this little gear perfectly fine, does not ride on that gear that they sold me. So I'd have to return that. What else? Yeah, that's pretty much it. So this cost like 60 bucks. And the minute I modify this, I bought it. I mean, it's mine. You know, I can't do anything with it. So I think what I'm going to do is switch gears here. Tim suggested this. I think I'm going to try just a straight centrifugal clutch. I have one here. It's a good one. It's a Comet. But unfortunately, it's for a 5/8 bore crankshaft. And this is a 1 inch. So this unit will not work. Alright. I was real leery about using something like this, just because I don't think they're very durable, and I don't think they're built very strong, to be honest with you. But this guy right here, this is actually a heavy duty one. It's a shame that ain't a 1 inch. So this guy is rated for up to 8 horse motors. I can buy them on Amazon for up to 13 horse motors. I think I'm going to go this route, because then all I got to do is put it on the crankshaft and run the chain up to the chain box here. Although in order to do that, the engine would be a little bit offset, but not nearly as much as it would need to be. Yeah. Not nearly as much as it would need to be with that other setup. The only problem is this assembly came from China, okay, and I had a heck of a time getting it in the first place. I mean, the seller ended up being good. I ended up buying it with the wrong credit card, a credit card that was no longer in use, but it was saved on my Amazon account. So I had to cancel that order and reorder that item with a different credit card. Well, that caused a lot of problems. So they finally canceled the one order and redid the second order. And then I've been waiting now for almost a month for this to show up. It was supposed to be here February 14th, and here it is March 12th. So, needless to say, sending this back is not going to be fun. So I might just try to sell it like on eBay or something. If any of you guys are watching that are thinking about building one of these track sleds or has a go-kart or something with a big motor that has a 1-inch shaft, send me a message and I'll sell it to you. It's brand new. I mean, I did install it, but it hasn't been used. So it's basically brand new in the box. I think I'm going to go with the direct bolt-on centrifugal clutch setup and give that a try. A lot simpler. The clutch is right here. A short little piece of chain goes to the gear on here. Bada bing, bada boom, done. Now there is a guy on YouTube that put videos up about his track sled. He has one of those centrifugal clutches on it, and he has used his machine for 4 years without a problem. Granted, his machine's a lot lighter than mine, smaller engine, etc., but he's happy with that centrifugal clutch. So yeah, I think I'm going to go that route instead of modifying. I mean, I'd have extensive modifications. Once this tank was moved, okay, I would then, it's now higher. It would be higher than where it is when it sits bolted to the motor. And this cage for the hood, well, you can see right now, it won't even, it's hitting it. It won't even clear. We need to have extensive modifications made to that, cut out on the top for the tank to stick out, all kinds of rigmarole. So I think I'm gonna pull the trigger on this direct drive clutch, get the heavy duty one, and hopefully I'll be good. So yeah, I kind of took the wind out of my sails a little bit, but I'm gonna expedite the shipping and get it here as fast as possible, and see what I can do with this other assembly.